Hey, Joe.
Hi, Rob.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. We just spoke to Bryce, and he kind of admitted that early on in the offseason, there was a period of uncertainty when he didn't know what the future was going to look like, whether JT would be back, whether Didi was going to be back. What was that like, that period for you? Did you have a little bit more assurances of where the organization was headed? Was there ever any doubt in your mind or thoughts like, hey, this isn't what I signed up for if we're going to start cutting payroll?
No, I wasn't exactly sure in the beginning. And then, obviously Dave came aboard and Dave and John and the Bucks and everybody sat down and they came up with a plan. And then we all were kind of familiar with the plan. We knew it'd be a slow off season. So I don't think there was, in a sense, like a rush to get it done, November 1st. I mean, that's not the way baseball works anymore. So, I mean, there was some uncertainty, definitely, but, I felt good about, signing here and being the manager here. And I know how bad John and the Buck family and the whole organization wants to win. So I wasn't really worried about it. I just wasn't sure what our team would look like. And I think whenever you have free agents, again, I mean, you can want a guy really bad, the free agent might leave. I mean, that's the bottom line, and you have to be prepared for that.
Go to Scott.
Hey, Joe.
Scott.
What is the status of your absentees from camp? And
Here we go. I made kind of a list today because I got a report. Betancourt, we expect to do his intake today. Didi, we expect him to do his intake tomorrow. Suarez and Morales on Saturday. Llovera on Sunday. And Muzziotti and Phillies, we're still not sure. So obviously the intake's the first part of the process. I wouldn't necessarily expect them on the field the next day after the intake, but shortly after.
yeah, that was going to be my follow-up. Just with the protocols that they have to go through when they arrive, are they, how far behind would you say someone like DD is? Realistically, like if the first workout was Monday, he could work out like Saturday, or like how do you sort of see the?
I think he's kind of where the other guys are, where they started on Monday and the first game's on Sunday. We'll just have to see. I would expect that DD's in pretty good shape because that's who he is and that's what I'm used to seeing. So I think he'll be ready, at normal time. I'm not too concerned about him being ready for the season.
Thank you.
Matt Breen.
Hey, Joe. Bryce was talking about how he has Bryson Stott living with him this spring, and we've known that they're kind of pretty close, and Bryce has been looking out for him. What does it do for a young player to have somebody like Bryce Harper looking out for him? And did you notice that last year when you were calling all these kids up to the majors, what kind of role Bryce played in that, in making guys feel comfortable?
That's the one thing I've noticed about Bryce is he's kind of got that big brother personality. And it's somewhat unusual. Bryce has been in the big leagues a long time, but he's really not that old. But I think he enjoys that leadership role. I think he enjoys mentoring because Bryce understands what it's like, to have expectations on you, probably as many as anyone when he signed. But how hard it is to get to this level and to stay at this level. And I think he has a lot of knowledge to offer these young kids. And he's not that far removed from being that young kid. And I think it's great that he does it. I love when our older players take the young players kind of under their wing, because here's the thing. At some point, the young players are going to be called up, and you want them to be comfortable when they walk in that clubhouse and know that there's somebody they can lean on if they're going through a hard time, because everybody goes through a hard time, whether you're a young player or a veteran player, you're going to go through a hard time. But it really helps when you can have someone that you can lean on when you're a young player.
And the way that he tried to stay in the lineup last September, even though his back, he said it was so bad he couldn't throw a baseball. Did that teach you anything about Bryce Harper? Did you learn anything about him, that even though you know what it's like to have a bad back and you knew how bad it was for him, that he was trying to play every day?
Well, I think it just shows you how bad he wants to win and how seriously he takes being on the field every day. I mean, Bryce feels a responsibility that I signed a contract and I need to be out there every day helping my teammates win. And I really appreciate that.
Thanks, Joe.
Go to Bob Brookover and then back to Rob.
Hey, Joe, just out of curiosity, when you have so many guys competing for a position like center field, how do you go about conducting that competition this spring?
Well, I think it'll be written and talked about enough that they understand that there's a competition. So I don't think I need to remind them that. The thing is that about it is that at times they're going to play center field, at times they're going to play other positions because, we feel that we have a pretty good understanding like how they play center field, but we want to give them at bats, and you can't put 3 guys in center field and then nobody on the corners. I guess you could. They would just have to be really fast and have a lot of range, but they're going to move around. Like in a sense, we started making lineups already, and they will have a real good understanding where they're going to be every day for like 5 or 6 days, out. So they need to know if they need to work in left field today, or the day before. So the big thing is that we get them all at bats, that they all get starts, that they all play center field, and that they get into somewhat of a routine like they would during the course of a season so we can truly evaluate them.
Can you remember your time with the Yankees or even your year with the Marlins where there was a competition, but there was in spring training, but there was no clear-cut winner, and how you went about figuring out who that was and how difficult can it be sometimes?
Well, I don't think it's fair to ask that with the questions because the only position player I knew who was playing in a spot was Miguel Cabrera. The other 8 spots were up for grabs. So that was much different. As far as having one competition like that, maybe for a bullpen guy or maybe for a starter, but never a position player have I kind of been through this. So this will be interesting to see how it unfolds, and we will make the best decision. And really, the best decision on April 1st, things can change. I mean, you have a chance to always rewrite the script. And if you are the chosen one, it's your job to hold on to that spot. So the competition just doesn't end April 1st. You're going to have to produce.
Thank you.
Joe, real quick back to Bryce. He appreciates how the Phillies organization, as he said, lets me be me. Do you have an overall or a general philosophy on when there are guys who are dynamic personalities, charismatic type players, just allowing them to be who they are, how important it is, and does it vary depending on how good they are on the field?
Rob, Joe Torre used to say all the time that let a player be himself as long as it's not hurting the club. Let them be who they are, because you want them comfortable when they come to the ballpark every day and who they are. I'm not asking them to be someone that they're not, whether it's on the field, off the field, in the clubhouse, no matter where. As long as what he's doing is not detrimental to the team, I'm all for it. Because I really think that's what makes our lives interesting, right? If everyone was, the same, it would be boring. So I like the different personalities. I like the different music genres. I just like the different energy levels of different people because it's what makes the world go round.
All right, let's go to Jim and then Destiny.
Joe, do you have somebody that in your mind you think is going to be your closer when you break camp?
Not quite yet. It's a little early for that. I want to see how guys perform and really get my eyes on guys. But I mean, obviously there's competition for that, but there's going to be a lot of important innings down in the bullpen, and we need everyone to pitch extremely well. And as I've said, I would really like to define some roles if I can.
Right.
If I can't, we'll adjust to it. But I would like to define some roles, and we'll let that kind of play out in spring training and see how people are doing. Because we still really don't know the makeup of our bullpen yet.
Right.
There's a lot of veterans here that have had a lot of success, and there's some young kids that have had a little bit of success. There's going to be some starters that could possibly, end up not being the 4th and 5th starter and move to the bullpen. So until we actually have a better understanding of the makeup of our bullpen, it's kind of hard to pick that.
There's a kind of an assumption that Bradley's the guy. Is that off base?
Well,
Must be.
I think he's I definitely think he's one of the characters that we're looking at heavily. But Archie has made it known from day one, he doesn't care.
Right.
He'll pitch wherever. So that's nice for a manager and an organization to hear that, because it allows you maybe to be a little bit more creative if you want to, depending on some other people. But he is definitely in the mix.
Wait, as you're evaluating throughout this month, next few weeks, what is going to play more into your decision making? Track record or performance in the Grapefruit League?
Oh, I think you have to look at both, and I think you have to look at some experience. I think and it's not always numbers that I look at. It's swings. The quality of the at bats on people. Are you throwing strikes? Are you ahead in the count? Are you putting hitters away early? Those are the things that I'm gonna look at. You can have a really good line score and not really pitch well, so it can't be just really numbers. So I'll evaluate everything that comes into it.
Could you kind of shock the world and go with Connor Brogdon? Does he have
Yeah, I'm not putting that type of pressure on Connor. I think he definitely has the ability to be a closer one day, but I just want Connor to get in the groove that he was at the end of last year, and then we'll find places for him to pitch in the back end.
Fair enough. Thanks, Joe.
Hey, Joe, how does Andrew McCutchen look so far this spring? How is he moving, and how does he look as far as, a few months before he tore his ACL, he looked really good. So is he closer to that form?
Oh, I think so. Destiny, I have not, to be fair, I have not seen him run around a lot. I have not seen him run the bases yet. The little bit that I've seen, it looks much different than it did last year when I saw him. So I feel pretty good about where he's at. Obviously I want to see him run the bases and track down fly balls, but all the reports that I've got is it's much, much better.
And I know we talked last year. You mentioned how if you had the DH, you would give him a few days off, but you don't have that option. Do you think he could play around 140-ish games? Do you have like an estimation of just how much he could play this year?
I think he's capable of doing it. I mean, I think you have to go through a season and sometimes guys get beat up more. Sometimes you have longer games than others that affect the number of games a player can play. But I would not put that past him. I think he has that ability. Yes.
All right. Thank you, Joe. That'll wrap it up for today.
Thanks, everyone.
Appreciate it.